Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the On Deck podcast. This is episode 32, and as you can see, we have two very special guests. The first, the first one is the first returning guest, actually. This is my mom, and here we have my brother Lucas, who, we're gonna have a conversation about whether or not he thinks baseball is as easy as it thinks. And today being the first game of the World Series, obviously, I need to get your guys' opinions on, the Jays run and, how long do you think this series is gonna last?
Well, I think the Jays are looking good. The game seven brought a lot of excitement and hope back into the team. So I think it's going to be a great series. The Dodgers are some tough competitors, but definitely Jays in seven.
Jesus.
I think the Blue Jays are also going to win. I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 games, but I think they're going to take it all. I think they're going to win it all.
I still say Dodgers in four, but anyways, with the Dodgers having probably, in my opinion, the most talented baseball player ever in Shohei Ohtani, what are your thoughts on that guy? Just as either you could talk about him as a player or as a pitcher, or even both if you have any opinions on him.
Well, there's no denying that he is a phenomenal baseball player, both hitting and pitching there. The league hasn't seen anything like him in, I don't know, I think it was Babe Ruth, I think they said was the last player that successfully pitched and hit so well. So, yeah, it's been a long time, and he brings a lot of excitement to the game. And yeah, I think he's exciting to watch. I think he's an awesome player. But the Jays are still gonna take him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's a generational player. For as long as I've been watching baseball, I've never seen a player pitch and hit at the same time. So just seeing a player like that, it's pretty amazing. I've never seen anything like it.
So do you think he easily wins MVP again this year, even though he has only had about a 50, 60 inning sample of pitching?
No, I don't think he's gonna get MVP. Um,
Like for the pitching MVP,
No, for NL MVP.
then isn't it just based off his hitting?
It could be he's won it before in the American League, both pitching and hitting.
oh, did it? Oh, see, I didn't even know that. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that. Um, no, because you said he's just pitched 50 or six
Yeah, might have even have been less innings than that because he was coming back from
t
injury and they were easing him into getting back into pitching, but I think he still wins it very easily.
no, it's too small of a sample size in order for him to win the pitching MVP.
No, no,
Um,
no, I'm talking about AL, like NL MVP. It could, like, because he pitched as well, doesn't mean he's just gonna win, like he's eligible for the Cy Young. That's different than the NL MVP.
oh, so sorry, maybe I was misunderstanding. So you're saying for the National League MVP? Yeah, yeah, I think he's probably got it for sure.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, no, I
It's
didn't realize.
based off his hitting and his batting performance.
And what about, I know you've probably heard a lot about Cal Raleigh since the Jays have been playing the
Hmm.
Mariners and that discussion of who wins AL MVP, him or Judge. Do you have any thoughts and opinions on that?
Um, well, for me, what I think the MVP is just that, the most valuable player to the team. And if that person wasn't on the team, would they have the success that they've had? And, I think that the Yankees would have done well without Judge, to be perfectly honest. So even though he hits well and he's a great batter, don't get me wrong, I think he's a phenomenal player. But I think what Raleigh did for Seattle was far more valuable than what Judge did for New York. So in that respect, then I would say yes. Even though his his batting average was a lot lower and all of that, what he brought to that team was a lot more valuable. So I think he should win the MVP.
I don't know enough about Cal Raleigh. I just know he hit like 60 home runs. Didn't he lead the league in home runs?
Yeah, that's the narrative is that he was the first catcher to hit 60 home runs,
Mhm.
breaking all these records. But when you're looking at, the numbers compared to Judge, it's like night and day. 'Cause Judge led in every single stat except for home runs and RBIs.
Right, but like I said, when you're looking at the most valuable player, if Judge didn't play, would New York have still done well? And I think, yeah, they would have.
Well, there's the stat for that, and it's called wins above replacement. And I
Okay.
think Judge was, I think, a win and a half more valuable than Cal Raleigh. And that takes into account, what position they play, um, and the ballpark that they play in. But that essentially means if, Aaron Judge wasn't a part of the New York Yankees,
Right.
he had accrued, I think it was 9 or almost 10 wins that he won basically by himself. And Cal was, I think it was very close behind, but those are the top two guys in WAR. And
Okay.
that's, I think now one of the main focuses that, baseball writers and voters look at now is, what do you bring like defensively and
Absolutely.
and offensively? And that's like the first thing that they look at is WAR.
Yeah, well, in that respect, then I think, as I said, I think Raleigh is more valuable because also he's a catcher. Like the toll that catching takes on the body and that he's still hitting 60 home runs and making that kind of contribution to his team, I think that should be that is more valuable than Judge may be better in terms of stats offensively, but defensively, what he brought to the team, I'm not sure. I don't know what his numbers are like, but definitely for a catcher that has that many balls taking that much of a beating in that position, that has some weight to it. And like what you said with the stats in terms of Judge. The team won one more or whatever it was game over Raleigh. I still think the value that Raleigh brought to his team was more than Judge. So yes, I still maintain he should be the MVP.
So that kind of brings me into my next question, which is, there's 9 positions played on the baseball field. Which one do you think is the hardest to play and why? And as someone that's, coming into baseball, what do you think is one of the easiest positions to pick up and play?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a tough question. Uh, Probably the easiest, and I don't even know if you can call it easy. I think if you're just starting to get into baseball, maybe first base might be
I
a,
was gonna
po-
say first base.
a position that um, if you want to have that introduction, I think that first base might be the position because essentially, yeah, you do some fielding, but essentially you have to catch the ball and have some flexibility. And I think that you could quicker learn that position than the others. What do you think?
I think it's either first or second base. I think
Mm.
second base is not easy, but it's one of the more easier to learn if you're coming into baseball. I just feel like you're just moving a lot laterally,
Mm.
just side to side, as opposed to you're not tracking the ball as much because most of the pop-ups you're not really moving as much. You're just kind of there. But if you're fielding, like there's a ground ball, you just need to work on your lateral movements and just know where, like if it's a double play, you need to know, oh, I need to throw it to to second, toss it to second, or there's no need for a double play, you just got to toss it to first. That's what I think.
And what do you think the hardest position is?
I think the hardest position probably is a catcher, you know, calling the plays, the pitches for the pitcher, having to have the arm strength to throw to either it's first or second or third if you're trying to catch a runner, stealing, um, the getting hit by the ball, the wear and tear on the knees of squatting for 2.5 hours, not consecutively, but it's a long game. And then you're expected to bat as well too. So I think catcher is probably the hardest position to play.
I was gonna say catcher too.
I
No, I actually
know,
think
I'm just
because you just need to be aware of everything that's going on. You need to know if there's someone on first, if they're taking like a big lead, you can pick them off, or if someone's stealing second, you have to just be aware of literally everything that's going on. If the bases are loaded, um, you have to make the right calls. You need to I'm sure they get the pitch calls from the coach or whatever,
Mhm,
but I bet to a certain extent they can kind of decide what kind of pitches they want the pitcher to throw, and it's just a lot of pressure because you kind of see the whole field. You see everything that's going on, and it's a lot to take in.
mhm,
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Graham about when I did the episode with him is that, catcher is one of those positions where you're always engaged and you have to
mhm,
stay, you don't always have to be, um, locked into what just the pitcher is doing, but, reading the batter's swings and seeing
mhm,
if he's, late on a fastball or if he takes a certain pitch in a certain area, you always have to be thinking ahead of what what comes next. And you kind of have to do that with every position. But I think catcher, you have to be thinking, two steps ahead instead of,
right.
playing second base and saying, oh, if I get a ground ball, what am I doing? Am I, if there's a guy on first, am I throwing it to second? If it's going to my left or to my right? There's a lot more to think about with catching. And I was telling Graham that, that's one of the aspects that I miss about, when I did catch, it was many, many years ago, but like you're always thinking, and I think that's I think that's a good position to play if you're also, getting into baseball too, because you learn so much so quickly by, learning how to play catcher and the defensive stuff, you kind of learn that as you get older, but knowing the basics and having the baseball IQ, I think it all starts as a catcher. And I think shortstop is probably the second position that I would say to have someone play if you're, coming into to playing baseball. But my next question is for, more of a casual fan. What changes should be made to, make baseball a little more exciting for those people that are,
Mm,
probably watching their first games now as the Jays are in the World Series this year.
I don't know. I need time to think about that. Uh, like to make it more exciting for fans, or like just as a sport to make it more exciting.
You can give either answer.
Maybe like a halftime. Maybe at the fourth, fifth inning, have a halftime, have like a show that goes on. Because there is no, it might be the only sport that doesn't have like a halftime really. Like of
Yeah,
the popular sports, I mean,
you have like a seventh inning stretch.
but there's no halftime really. But I guess it's a slow enough sport that there doesn't need to be a halftime.
Mhm,
It's not a fast-paced sport. And I think that's why I find it interesting, but not it's not my favorite sport is because of the lack of speed, and that's why I enjoyed basketball and soccer because it's a fast-paced sport. I think that's what kind of led me towards playing those sports. But yeah, I just think it's a slowish sport. That's why I don't think I like it as much. So maybe just I don't know. I
mhm.
don't
Do
know.
you,
It's
do you
it's kind of
think
hard to
the
say.
do you think the pitch clock has helped with, the speed of the overall game?
I actually forgot that was a thing. How long do they have? Like 15 seconds?
So it's 18 seconds for no runners on first, and I think they shortened it from I think it was 25 to 22 seconds with a runner on.
I don't think that makes a difference, really. Like in terms of like the pace of the game, I don't think the
Uh,
clock really speeds up the sport. It just kind of, I think it more just speeds up the pitcher, but not the whole sport as a whole, I think. I
What
think.
about you, Mo?
Um, well, that's the relaxed pace of baseball is actually one of the things that I liked about it, in that there isn't even though you have your 9 innings, you don't have a set time. So it could take as long or as short. I don't like the defined times as much as somebody that likes things free flowing. I think that's why I've enjoyed baseball, is because it's something that, you could spend an afternoon watching, because, it's not going to be 15-minute quarters or 20-minute quarters or whatever, or innings. You're just gonna play. So I like that about baseball, is that it is more relaxed, more casual. I also like that it can be uh also fast paced if you get a lot of hits, or you get really uh, with the pitching is competitive. So I think there's a lot of things that I still enjoy about baseball, but for me, one of the things that I enjoy most is that it doesn't have a time on it. And what could be done to make the sport more appealing? I don't know. I think that's an interesting idea, to have a halftime or a midpoint that there is activities or engagement, but that will then could potentially stretch
Yeah,
out
it could make it even
the
Yeah.
longer.
the game even longer. So I don't know, like I wouldn't mind so much, because like I said, I don't mind not having a timer, but for those that are new to the sport or trying to get engaged in it, might find that 3.5 hours is just a little too much. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure what could be done differently to make the to change it, because I enjoyed how it is. And uh, as Lou had said, in terms of the pitch clock, I don't think that really speeds up the game or adds anything or takes away anything from the game. I think it's just kind of a moot point, actually.
Interesting, interesting. Because I
Mhm.
think I can't remember the exact stat, but there actually was, they had taken, I think it was the last 3 years before they implemented the pitch clock,
Mhm.
and then I think the 2 or 3 years after they've implemented it.
Mhm.
And there has been a gradual change of, the length of games. So a casual person might not be able to tell the difference from,
Mhm.
sitting either watching it at the stadium or on TV, but there is a very slow decrease in time of, the length of games.
Right. But like I said, I don't mind it. So to me, having the clock doesn't add or take away from watching it, even though, it's supposed to speed things along. I don't really pay it much mind.
Okay. I have another question for the, the casual. Um, and
Down to the casual.
we've had the conversation multiple times, you've watched a couple clips from, my Seneca games and you're like, "Oh, baseball's so easy. I can hit that and oh, I can catch a fly ball in the outfield. Why aren't your guys catching that?" and this and that. So, if there was say you're a hitter, a batter, and there was a guy on the mound throwing an average fastball, which is the major league average, I think, I looked it up yesterday, it was about 93, 94 miles an hour, which is just average. How many at-bats do you think you need to get a hit?
To actually get on base or just to make contact?
No, to get an actual hit.
Like right now?
Yes, right now.
Okay, realistically, I don't think I could. I don't think I could hit a fastball. But they're at the highest level of baseball. They have to be good to make it that far. So that's their job. So they
But if
should be.
you knew it was say it was a pitching machine every single time at 93, 94, right down the middle every time.
I think I could get it on my 30th
You're gonna hit
30th
that bat
30th swing.
and like a nice crisp hit, not like a
Like a
swinging
single?
bunt. Yeah, like just a hit. All you need is a single.
All you need is a single. There are the professional players that you've seen. I forget, just in the series, somebody was like 0 for 27. So, even those that are paid to do this professionally have difficulty hitting the ball. So, someone like Lou, who,
Over
I
exaggerates everything.
yeah, 30 might be a bit of a stretch, but that's because that's not what that's not his skill set, right? Because like I said, you have those with the skill set that are still going 0 for 20, 0
Yeah,
for
so I
27, 0 for 30. So I don't think that's a fair question because I don't think
but
that could
they're at
happen.
the highest level. That's their job. They get paid to hit.
So
Uh,
what about a collegiate level where I think maybe the average fastball is like 82, 83? What about that?
I think I could hit an 82-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah.
And how many at bats would you give it?
20.
20?
20.
Oh, what about you, Mom?
What, me hitting?
Yeah.
Probably on the first.
Really, Mom?
I don't know. Because like that sounds slow because you're comparing it to Major League, but if you think about driving like 80 miles an hour and how fast that seems, like a ball coming at you like that might seem even faster. So I don't know, maybe 20.
So you think you're on the same level as Lou?
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
If I'm taking 20, you're at like 50. You're at like 50
Yeah.
now. Yes.
Just as many as you.
So do you think, and I always like having this conversation, but what do you think hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in all of sports?
I think out of all the major sports, I think baseball is the most difficult. And the reason why I say that is because baseball isn't intuitive. Like somebody that's dropped on the planet and they see a baseball game, I don't think you can look and figure out what's happening. Versus like if you're dropping and you see soccer, okay, you see a person that, okay, you have to try and hit it in that net. Or with football, if you see them running, you got to try to run to that zone. But looking at baseball, I don't think you can look at it without having some knowledge of the sport to truly understand. Okay, you have to hit the ball and you're running here and then you're running there. And what is a strike? What's a foul? Like there's a lot of different things that you have to know when watching baseball. So I don't think I think that baseball is probably intuitively the most difficult of the major sports to learn and to play. But I got distracted as I was thinking about. So what was
Do you think hitting a baseball is the hardest thing
oh
to do in
so,
sports?
so definitely then because understanding the game is difficult. Therefore, I think as hitting the ball as part of the game, that would be difficult as well too.
Yeah, I saw a video on Instagram actually. It kind of broke down like a pitcher because what's the mound, like 60 feet?
60 feet, 6 inches.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then from the time the pitcher releases the ball, and then for the time the brain takes for it to take in the ball and all that, it actually is a lot more difficult than I thought
Mhm.
it was. You
Mhm.
have like literally like half a
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
to react. So I guess in terms of that, when you really break it down, yeah, I do think it is probably the most difficult thing to do in a sport, but each sport has their own
Right.
difficulties that if you really think about it, it is a lot harder. Like shooting a basketball. Like I think it's a lot harder than people think. Like a ball's not that much smaller than a hoop, so you kind of need to shoot it perfectly for it to
Right.
go in. Same way.
But at least you can, do it underhand and still throw. Yeah, you could still throw it in like that. You still have a way to get it in the hoop. Whereas if you're hitting a ball, there's only one way to hit it, and that's with the bat. And that narrow bat trying to hit that small ball, it's a hand-eye coordination that's a little difficult. So, and that's why I said for just intuitively, baseball, I think is of the major sports is probably um, the most difficult to understand and to pick up. Once you start playing, though, it's probably, I think, one of the easier ones.
Baseball?
Hmm.
Like if you're not hitting,
Yes.
like fielding,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's not that hard.
Well, it's kind
Well,
of
I'm not talking at a professional level.
no,
I'm
I'm
so,
still saying like even that's why I don't like playing defense and people just hit the ball so hard at you sometimes and it's scary. It's scary sometimes, especially if you play like third base where it's called the hot corner where you're getting balls scorched down the line or guys are hitting the ball so hard on the line at you and like it's kind of like hitting. You have only a certain amount of time to react before the ball gets to you and you know it does get scary.
but it doesn't always come, it's not always coming to you in those positions. So therefore, like for me, I'd think tracking the ball in the field would be
Oh yeah,
difficult because, I you see the ball coming to you and you think, okay, I'm going to catch this, but you have to make sure that you're tracking it properly in order to do that. And, I don't necessarily think that that's the easiest thing, but once you learn how to properly track and catch a ball, then not, of course, at a major league level, but just as a even a recreational level, then that's a lot easier to do.
yeah, even like I had this conversation with AJ a lot because we would play on the same side of the field at Seneca. You'd play first, I'd play left, and there'd be a line drive to me in left field that you look like you're right about to catch and it goes like 10 feet over your head. Reading a fly ball, like if
Mhm.
you have no experience playing the outfield, it's probably one of the more it's probably one of the hardest things to do, like especially learning the position and just being tossed out there to be like,
Mhm.
oh, here, go play, left field, center field, or even left. It's hard because, based on the batter, the ball and the way it comes off the bat, the way it spins, it has a lot of effect on how the
Right.
ball flies out into the field and, if it tumbles or if it's slicing one way or the other, it's very hard to read.
Yeah. No, I can believe that. I can believe that.
And I was surprised that both of you said that hitting a baseball, and baseball is one of the harder sports. Is I had this thought a couple days ago is that you don't really see like, there's like pickup soccer, pickup
Mhm.
basketball, or pickup volleyball. You don't ever see a pickup baseball game.
Well, not baseball, but you have softball.
Okay, no, I'm talking baseball. Hey, you pick up Joe Schmo off the street and go play softball.
Yeah,
I
but
just
it's
feel like there's less baseball players too. Like it's just not as popular. Maybe if there was, like, I'm sure there's pickup baseball in Dominican Republic or like Puerto Rico or something. It's just where we are. It's just not as popular.
well, also too, like you can go to any field and play soccer or any schoolyard and see a basketball hoop. But with baseball, like how many baseball diamonds are there? If you see them all over, then I guess you'd have more people playing casually, but it requires more space. And so depending on where you are, you just might not have that availability. So I think that's probably why you don't see the pickup baseball games like that because it's not as readily available.
That is true as well.
Mhm.
And then, to close out the questions is that I think that baseball players are the most dynamic athletes. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think like I know a lot of baseball players. I know a couple when I was at Duville. My guy Jeremy Galinsky, who's actually his birthday today, funny enough. But he played, I think he played football, basketball, and baseball in high school. I know a lot of guys played football in high school. I know a lot of guys played volleyball as well. That just can get up and play volleyball and are better than average at it. I can I can play anything. So, what are your thoughts on baseball players being the most dynamic athletes?
I don't think so. How many overweight baseball players are
Okay,
there?
well,
How many?
Yeah, no,
I'm not talking about just a Pete Alonso or a Bartolo Colon.
Kirk.
Yeah, Kirk's his own person.
yeah, no, I think that's a bit of a stretch to call them the most dynamic athletes. I think the most dynamic athletes are probably soccer
Basketball.
players.
I was
No,
gonna say
I'd say
basketball.
soccer players.
So you can put a soccer player to go play baseball.
Um,
But what's dynamic?
yeah,
Like
You can play any sport at an average or above average level. Because I
I
haven't seen a baseball player that can't play a sport at a below average level.
well, I don't know because that I think that's a tough call. I thought
I thought
you're
you
just
meant
talking,
dynamic. I thought you meant like how they are athletically and
yeah.
Because I
like
know a lot of players, even a lot of the guys that play on my Leaside Side senior team still play hockey. And hockey's a hard sport to play. Some of them will play not even on the ice, just like shinny or I know a few that still play volleyball. I remember Matthew Ferris, he played squash.
Mm.
oh yeah,
Well,
I remember that.
the reason I think you can do that is because baseball for the average player, it's not as taxing on the body like a football or soccer or volleyball or basketball. So they can play other sports because the what's the
The
word that I'm looking,
toll, the
yeah,
physical
the
toll.
physical toll that the sport takes isn't like other sports. So therefore they can do other sports. So I think in terms of being dynamic, I don't know if it's dynamic, but what the what physically baseball does to the average player, I'm not talking about like a pitcher or something who has that constant repetition of the arm, but for your right fielder, your left fielder, or your first baseman, like you're not there's not a hard physical toll that the sport is taking on your body. So you should be able to play for till you're in your 40s if you have the coordination still, because physically your body hasn't broken down from the wear and tear of jumping or running or whatever it is. So I think that's probably why you can see those baseball players still doing other sports, because they haven't had that demand on their body to break them down so that they aren't able to do other sports.
Interesting.
Pretty good take, Mom.
You have anything to comment on that?
Yeah, I thought when you mean dynamic, it's how they are athletically. And
Mhm.
in that case, I don't think you don't need to be that athletic to play baseball. But in other sports, you kind of need to be like athletic. Being athletic is like the number one thing. Like in soccer, you can't be overweight and play soccer. You can't be overweight and play football. You can't be overweight and play basketball. And
Or
so,
hockey
or
or any
yeah,
other sport.
but you do see overweight baseball players. And so I think in terms of I think you should have said are versatile and because that means they can play other sports. But in terms of dynamic, I think like probably basketball or soccer players are the most dynamic because of the jumping, the running, the banging of the bodies, all that. It takes a toll on your body versus baseball. You're not really coming in contact with your opponents like that, and it's not as much wear and tear on the body, like what Mom said.
But you don't think because you have to swing or throw at 100% every single time with whatever movement you're doing. You don't think that takes a toll on your body as quick as, I don't know, any other sport?
No, not at all, because for batters, you might get up what, four times, maybe the most in a game, right? So I don't think there's any comparison with swinging a bat however many times it could take you at that four at bats versus running. I think, just giving example, soccer players, I think they averaged like 12 kilometers during a regulation soccer game, so there's no comparison between swinging four at bats versus running for 12 kilometers for 90 minutes. I don't think, and basketball, the jumping or whatever, like I don't think you can make that kind of comparison because, and like I said, part of the reason why I like baseball is because it is kind of a slower, the pace isn't fast, and it allows you to just enjoy more of the moment without kind of waffling or going back and forth trying to figure out what's happening. So I think because of that, it allows for longevity. I think it allows for um uh yeah, just longevity in the sport. If you stay consistent, you have a much, I don't want to say easy because no professional sport is easier, but you have a better likelihood of playing
More years.
more years than in baseball than any of the other major sports if you stay healthy.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, that closes out all my questions for today.
Oh,
I appreciate both of you for, taking some time out of the day to sit down with me.
my pleasure, baby.
Mhm.
And that's gonna close it for today's podcast. I appreciate you all for tuning in and listening, whether it be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or even YouTube, since this is a video. But thank you guys, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.